Jesus, man, what the hell are you doing? It's been 6 months since you... Jacob? Jacob? Oh, that's right. You're dead. Come on, dude, we got work to do. You don't have time to be dead. Hey, Jacob, you're wrong about the flying machine. Everybody knows the gravity animus is different.
That's not canonical. They literally say at the end of the video that it's just a theory. Again.
Whoa, man, chill out. I'm just trying to resurrect you from the dead, okay? With the power of pure anger. Come on, man, we got a video to make.
Matt, I just came back from the dead. I saw the fiery depths of hell, fields of flames, people burning on stakes as far as the eye could see, Satan himself wielding a thorned whip, punishing the damned souls in eternal torment, and...
It's about a sword.
Swords? I like swords.
A big-ass sword.
That's right, it's finally here, the big, bad Buster Sword. I've had people requesting this since the first episode, thank you Grim, and it's no surprise.
This massive steel paddle is one of the most iconic swords in gaming and the exemplar of ludicrous JRPG elements.
Although the massive Buster Sword first appeared in Final Fantasy VII, we learned of its origins in Crisis Core, the prequel to FF7. Angeal Hewley, a member of the First Class Soldiers, enhanced super soldiers with incredible strength, speed, and agility, was the first swordsman to wield the blade. Upon joining Soldier, Angeal's stepfather commissioned the huge sword to be forged for him.
I'm certain he wasn't compensating for anything.
The cost for the testosterone sword left his father working off the debt, eventually working himself to death. As a result, Angeal views this sword as a symbol of honor and a memory of his deceased stepfather, choosing not to wield it in battle and instead using a standard soldier sword, swinging the Buster Sword only rarely and stating, "Use brings about wear, tear, and rust, and that's a real waste." A man with a massive sword who never gets to use it. Wonder what Freud would have to say about that.
Later, after Angeal succumbs to the corruption of the Genova cells and becomes Angeal Penance, Zack Fair, another soldier first class to whom Angeal was a mentor, has to put him down. In his dying breath, Angeal entrusts the sword to Zack. Out of respect, Zack swings the blade with just the blunt end so as not to damage the blade. Not that it really matters that much, he's just gonna be crushing people to death with a massive way to steal anyway, so what a hero.
Zack and Cloud, his best friend, are later ambushed outside Midgard by an army of Shinra troops, and Zack gets gunned down, passing the Buster Sword on to Cloud. Thus enters the events of Final Fantasy VII, in which the Buster Sword is Cloud's default weapon and the one that he wields in every cutscene. Despite its massive size and story significance, it's actually the weakest of Cloud's weapons. And that's just utterly horrifying.
Finally, after the events of FF7, Cloud plants a sword in the ground in the cliff where Zack died in memorial to him, like a giant, deadly gravestone. Over the next 2 years, the sword becomes rusted and covered in dust in the Midgar wastes.
Here, let me honor my friend who didn't let this sword get a scratch by letting it rust for 2 years.
Instead of the Buster Sword, Cloud wields the fusion swords throughout the events of Advent Children, 6 swords that combine into a single massive sword with a very similar appearance and size to the original Buster Sword. Where did he get these swords and how are they forged? Not a clue.
Yeah, for all of the detail and significance in the Buster Sword's background, there is absolutely nothing on the origin of the fusion swords or how Cloud came upon them.
My guess is that Takaya thought it was cool, and that's all that really mattered, and alright, it's pretty wicked.
Finally, at the conclusion of Advent Children, Cloud returns to the Buster Sword on the cliff and removes it, cleaning it of rust and dust before bringing it to the Sector 5 church in which Aerith had previously resided. Why didn't he bring it here in the first place instead of let it rust for years? Who the hell knows, but the church is where the Buster Sword has its final resting place.
Although this is the last we see of the true Buster Sword, there are several references to it in other Final Fantasies.
In Final Fantasy IX's Lindblum, whatever, a weapon shop holds a very familiar sword, and if Zidane inspects it, he will mention a guy with spiky hair who wielded a sword just like it. I'd say this is appropriate, considering Zidane is possibly the only character in Final Fantasy with hair more stupid than Cloud, Zack, and Angeal.
The Buster Sword was also cut content for FFX as a weapon for Tidus, but can be obtained by hacking. Interestingly, Tidus attacks with a blunt edge just like Angeal and Zack, as if the little bitch could even wield the ludicrous blade.
Gilgamesh uses a fake Buster Sword with a kanji character meaning replica in FF12, alongside many other fake famous swords. The sword is also a DLC item in Lightning Returns.
It also makes a few other appearances in the Tactics series, as well as in Kingdom Hearts, in which Cloud wields a sword wrapped in bandages because of reasons.
The sword is so iconic that it's appeared in tons of other games as well, including Monster Hunter and Terraria, and it's even showed up in an episode on Adventure Time. How cool is that?
Its fame just goes to show it's definitely about the size and not so much how you handle it.
Jesus, where do I even begin with something like this? Obviously the Buster Sword is absolutely ludicrous in size, and it's definitely bigger than anything that's ever been forged in reality, somewhere around 5 to 6 feet long and a foot wide. However, we do have a few real-life massive swords to which some comparisons could be drawn. One of the most famous big-ass swords is the Claymore supposedly wielded by William Wallace, a Scottish rebel who led a resistance force during the Wars of Scottish Independence against the English. And yes, that is the same William Wallace as in Braveheart. We are not talking about Mel Gibson on this channel. Sorry Mel, love you as much as you can love a psychotic anti-Semite, but Braveheart was just not historically accurate. Anywho, the Wallace sword measures 5 foot 4 inches, including the hilt, with a width of 2.25 inches at the thickest, weighing in at 6 pounds. While the length is certainly comparable, it's a fraction of the Buster Sword's width and therefore its weight, but it's not bad for a sword actually used in combat. You can actually go see this sword in Scotland today. Here's a picture of yours truly climbing up the fort it's held to sneak a peek without having to pay.
More commonly used swords included the German Zweihanders developed during the Renaissance, running up to 6 feet in length and 7 pounds in weight. They were regularly used by German mercenaries, the Landsknechts, during the 16th century, and those who were trained with the Zweihander were so valuable they were entitled to double the pay and known as Doppelsoldner, double payment. The Zweihander was not only excellent for busting, or should I say, bustering, through pikeman formations, it was also utterly terrifying to be on the other end of it. So big-ass swords actually had some significant value in battle, though again, these were not nearly as thick.
The biggest known swords in the world are the Simpil swords, which belonged to the stewards of the barony of Renfrew in the 13th century. These swords are utterly massive at over 8 feet long and 23 pounds, a weight much more comparable to the Buster Sword. However, these swords were entirely ceremonial and a marker of status, and they were never actually used in combat. It's a no real surprise, seeing as it would take a giant to wield it. They are cool though, and they can still be seen in the National Museum of Antiquities in Scotland, because Scotland apparently has all the testosterone. Unfortunately, these few examples, while plenty long,
Giggity.
don't even compare to the width of the Buster Sword, so we're back in the realm of skepticism in determining how much it would take to wield something this big.
Giggity.
And to get an answer for that, we're gonna have to get hands-on. Oh damn it!
Giggity.
We're gonna calculate some crap, alright? Jesus.
But Jacob, talking about what happened with the flying machine, do you really want to subject yourself to that again? The math, man, it could kill you.
It must be done, Matt. It must be done. For the people. It's going to be really hard.
Giggity.
I will murder your family! Alright, so you guys know the drill. Strap on your seatbelts, grab your popcorn, and keep your hands inside the vehicle at all times, because we are going to...
Ludicrous speed! Go!
So the Buster Sword is actually different sizes in different games, so I'm going OG with the classic FF7 official art. Cloud is a short 5'7". Using a ruler, we get 12 centimeters minus the stupid hair that makes it super difficult. And zip zappity zoo, we've got measurements all over the sword. Divide 67 inches by 12, and we find out each centimeter is worth 5.58 real life inches, so it's time to do some calculating. For the sake of making the calculation volume easier, I divided the sword up into teeny tiny bite-sized pieces for delicious mathematics, and you can slap that calculation on each to get a measurement of the real sizes.
I'd like to stop here real quick and point out that the sword from hilt to tip is just an inch short of 6 feet long. So exactly my height, as well as 9.5 inches wide and an inch thick.
But that's just the beginning. Now for the best part, geometry! You just gotta get yourself a big old bag of formula and find which one applies to which piece. Plug all those values. I painstakingly sat there and measured in my room by myself on a Friday night. God, my life is cool, and we've got the volume for each piece. Are you with me, Matt? Take all them volumes and stir them up in a stew and you get 380.76 square inches. Wake up!
Alright. Yeah, so maybe this isn't too big a deal though, right? I mean, it's a fantasy game. Could be any crazy magical metal that's as light as a feather. Except no, because right here in this interview, he actually says it's straight up made of solid steel. So that thing is just a massive hunk of steel.
And massive hunks of steel tend to weigh in at about 0.29 pounds per square inch. So if you lightly slap that value against the volume, you get... by God... 110.42 pounds of steel. Yeah, 110 pounds. You know, the weight of some people I know. Cloud is standing there, holding what's equivalent to a smaller adult by the ankles at a 45-degree angle, totally cool with it, not breaking a sweat, then proceeding to Omni-Slash that thing around 16 times and just pick it back up like it's nothing. Okay, sure. Something tells me that climactic battle with Sephiroth would look a little different in real life.
So, the Buster Sword is over 15 times heavier than the Zweihander and the Wallet Swords. You know, the sword's known for being huge and hard to wield except by very strong and trained professionals, and 5 times heavier than the swords that were so heavy they had never actually used in battle. This thing is a freaking monster, but it doesn't matter at all for everybody's favorite metrosexual trio.
Yep, all that time we took into proving how you absolutely can't wield this thing in real life doesn't matter at all in terms of the game, because they get ye old sci-fi trump card, genetic modification. All the first-class soldiers have Genova cells in them that make them faster and stronger than normal humans. Apparently, about 15 times stronger, because all these guys with normal builds and Cloud with his rather unimpressive height have no issue swinging this thing around like it's Mary Poppins' goddamn umbrella. Yay, overdone science fiction tropes!
Jacob, I'm sensing a little saltiness there. You alright?
Came back from the dead for this. Do you know how much I hate doing stuff like this? Do you know how much I hate doing three-dimensional math? Every single time I see where somebody wants me to do something like this, I just feel shivers creeping up my spine. Every time I look at those formula, my amygdala just explodes with pure fear and... Wait a minute. That's it!
The hell are you going on about, woman?
The amygdala, Matt. I know how to make all of this better. No more cowering at demons or shivering at the thought of the flying machine mechanics. I'm going to kill fear itself.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this ridiculous video, why don't you hit that like button? And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe.
And if you want to see more of Matt, which I know you do, go check out his channel MattsOutrageous, where he plays games, hangs out, and even shares a few crazy dreams. Also, if you want to help this channel grow and support me directly so I don't have to worry about ads and all that nonsense, please consider becoming a patron over on Patreon, where you can pledge any amount of money for each video I post and join my elite Jarls, who get first priority in collaboration streams and other things I have planned for in the future. Even if you don't, I look forward to seeing you on the next video.